Yes, hello, Race Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan. Bracken Crocker joins me. Jack Bauer joins me. Today, we have a bunch to talk about. We do. We have the FISO Obstacle Racing World Championships. Did I say that right?
Nailed it.
Was that the branding that they're going with? We had DEKAFIT Orlando. We had another CrossFit mishap situation, or just like more affirming, an affirming measurement situation for CrossFit.
Not a mishap. It's true to form.
It is just
consistently inconsistent.
That is true, and that's across the board. So it's just something funny that we want to kick around a little bit. Jack has trivia. Jack's Facts, aka Race Brain Teaser. And we got a new Okra category we got to talk about. First, we had a world championship happen. Jack, you were locked and loaded. How did you consume the FISO World Championships?
I consumed it by looking at the results because I sent you guys a link. Did you guys decide to pay that money to watch the race?
I did not. I was thinking, I was busy this weekend. I wasn't, but I did not pay for the link. How much was it?
I believe it was $1 according to the website, but it was like on World Obstacles Facebook page, but it had like 3 people who reacted to the post, and then it took you to some website, and then it was like ESPN 24 Live doc. I'm like, I don't know if I'm entering my credit card on this website, so I did.
My credit card flagged it as a scam. I said, "You're right." I declined the charge.
No way.
Listen,
that really
if Chase flags this whole organization as a scam, who am I to say otherwise?
That actually happened, right? You're not making that up.
Did you inform Chase about this organization beforehand, just to keep an eye out on him?
I said, this is an Olympic path guy.
I need to pay for this. I need to help. But $1's fine. I mean, that was something that happened at
is it?
Why not?
I think that's more disrespectful than $15.
I think, what's the most you would pay for something like this? Like, say, for this, or for like watch the CrossFit Games, to watch the World Championships track and field, or High Rocks World Championships. What would be like the most amount that you would pay to watch something remote?
I paid for the Runner Space Plus for the U.S. National Championship this year to try to watch
me. I tried to
and stuff.
I couldn't.
It was not. I mean, it was about the same level of ease of use as the FISO website. And I immediately canceled it afterwards. What was that?
How much was that?
$12.99?
$12.99.
Was that what it was? $14.99.
I was trying to pay that as well, but I was trying to do it on my mobile, and it wasn't happening. It wasn't working for me.
I had to switch to my laptop.
Yeah.
I think the hardest part is there's so much confusion about where to access stuff. It's like, even with the NFL, it's like, you can get NFL Sunday Ticket, but you can also get Red Zone for a little bit more, but you won't get your local NBC games, which you need an antenna for. Like, they've got.
If you want to watch the London game, it's like ESPN Plus, Amazon Prime is Thursday night. It's a whole deal.
Exactly.
I got it figured out, though. I'm locked in.
Anyway, I am more disrespected by $1 than I am 5 or 10 or 15. Because you're not going to make any money off of it, so why are you charging me? But it also means you're not going to give me any good product. If I'm going to spend 10 or 15, I'm buying part of a pay-per-view here. There's going to be some production value. I'm not helping your cause for $1, and you're not offering me much.
Jack, what's the most you would pay?
I'm in the same boat as Bracken. It's like there's a lower limit to at which point it's like, why are you even bothering charging this? Cover it with advertisements and stuff. But if you pay $10, sure, you can be mad about it if it doesn't turn out good, but you at least like have a little bit of expectation heading into it that it might be decent.
And I think if you were going to go to a live event, right? Like, how much would that realistically be? 10 at least, right? Mm-hmm. Any live event, like high school football, is probably going to be that much, right? I haven't been in a while, but I would imagine 5 to 10.
What are you expecting for what's best case scenario? If they advertised it so well, how many viewers could they get?
Oof. And to tune in live? Because this
tune in live.
Was this then available on demand? Like, if we could, like, if we bought this thing, could we go back and look at it, watch it later?
Watch it.
I don't know.
Because
could you buy it now for 50 cents and watch it 48 hours post?
I mean, we're talking like dollar terms that they would be thrown around in the 1950s. Would you watch it for 50 cents? It's like, what is that at this point?
But the question of numbers is
I mean this. What's best case scenario viewers?
Best case live?
2,000?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Live or period?
1,000 live, I think, is good.
What's the biggest number we've seen live? Like 2,600 for Spartan, something like that?
What was our watch along? Hold on, let me go check a look and see about that.
Yeah.
2022 watch along.
I'm just looking at like random, like Spartan DEKAFIT Austin had 21,000 views. DEKAFIT Team Championship last
year,
live. 4.5. I know. I'm just saying. So we're in the thousands. We're not in the tens of thousands. Is what I'm saying.
You can't make enough to hire anyone professional. Can't make enough to make a difference. So then it's just an inconvenience. Can't make enough to pay the athletes. So yeah, don't slap me in the face with $1. I'd rather overpay for a worse product. If it's $1, let me like pirate this like a man.
I agree. I do agree. But I think this is a really long, drawn out way of saying none of us watched it. None of us watched it.
I paid attention, but I didn't
I was following the results, old school athlink style. So I feel like I have a general sense of what happened. And Jack, you were locked in with the social media, the athletes over there. You know how to pronounce more of the athletes' names than I do, so it's easy.
Yeah, but it's more fun when you do it.
It's more fun for you to track. So I'm like, I think this is. I need to hear how this person's name
Jack,
is said.
What are you sending me links for right now?
I'm sending you a link to the results so that you can actually see the names.
I have it up.
Okay.
Well, let's talk.
Let's
talk about three. I got it locked in, but BK needs help.
Yep.
So for the 3K women's elite, Ida Matilda Steensgaard took the win. Nicole Miracle was second. Elrique Evanson was third. There's a bunch of notable names here. Alyssa Petrova was fourth, and some names I guess we haven't seen. Those are like the most common names that we'll see.
Like Dominique Blum from in 10th place. She's done really well at OCR Worlds in the past. Jessica Izquierdo, she's really good from Spain.
Now you're flexing.
I'm just mentioning like that OCR series. Katrine, she's done really well from, I believe that's Norway, their flag. But bottom line, you had like kind of a who's who of European racers there.
It was certainly a strong field. And on the men's side, it was Gian Savani. Is that what
Gian Maria Savani.
Yessa DeHare was second, and also second. Correct, right? Am I right here?
We'll get into that.
Thibault Debouché. How are we saying this one?
Thibault
Debouché. That was our podium. Other notable that we might be familiar with was Leon Kofed, who was sixth. TVT, aka the number one block, he was 8th. Jonas Drescher was 10th. So same kind of thing. Like these are names, and I'm sure you could go through and be like, oh, this guy who got 5th, he was actually 3rd 3.5 years ago. 12 years ago, he ran 16-12 in a 5K. But those are the names that we would most likely be familiar with. On the men's side, on the 3K, I think the top finisher was Kevin Thompson at 34th. Nick Mask was 35th. And then Sean was down in 60th. And I believe that was our team.
He had a bad race.
That was our team there. So let's talk about the women's first. So at the top, I mean, these are athletes that we've seen often, with Ida, who knocked off Lindsay at the 3K at OCR Worlds last year in an incredible upset, really. Does it again. She takes another world championship and puts it to her name, beats another defending world champion or previous world champion in Nicole Miracle.
Almost 3 minutes.
By almost 3 minutes. Did you catch any?
23:01 for Ida, 25:43 for Nicole. So that's a win.
And these obstacles were looking difficult.
You know what this did to me?
What did it do to you?
This, to me, launched Ida way up the all-time rankings for me.
Really?
Yes. Despite the fact that I came into this and said, I don't really care about this event. I don't think it means what they say it means. You can't just show up and say, hi, we're a federation. This is your world championship, and call it the OCR World Championship when the OCR World Championship already exists. However, all those things aside, what do we always say when we send North American athletes over to European races? It's not really our style of racing. We don't expect ourselves to do well. We don't expect much out of these people because it's a different sport. and they go over there and they get crushed. But I think it's time to start doing the opposite for them. If she comes over here and is always competitive with our best athletes and still wins over there in this crazy style of OCR that's over there, it speaks to her level of greatness that she can do our thing as well as we can. And she can do her thing better than we can do. The crossover is not equal. She crosses over much better than we do. And so for me, it just elevates her. Despite the fact that this might be run by like the Goofy Games committee, it doesn't change the fact that on the same test as everyone else, she dominated.
If we're looking at like the who's who of women's OCR history, you've got Lindsay, Nicole, Zuzana. Those three are kind of on their own tier. Who are you putting in between Ida after that?
Nicole.
We have several, like 5 people in between.
I know that, but
at this point, though, I mean, I think you're right. Like,
she's been doing it for a long time. Like
right now, we have Claude, Rhea, and Karen, and Amelia ahead of her. But I think it might be Kay. She might make a jump.
Yeah, I don't know how we deny her now,
because this was a world class field.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't matter what they were, who hosted it. People showed up, and she dusted everyone and came over here and holds with our best. So like, even Annie, who's fantastic, but rusty, but fantastic. She did so much better than Annie on Annie style courses than Annie did over there. It just speaks to how, like someone like Annie, who's so good and well-rounded, it just speaks to how good this woman is.
I'll give you another example. So Ida 2301, Igor Belisov, who got podium at OCR Worlds on the men's side, ran 23:50, and he later won the 15K in the same exact race. And Ida ran faster than him on the same exact course in the 3K. Like, she would have been top 20 in the men's field.
My question when we were talking about this is like, yeah, but like, is this fitness? How fit is and that's always my thing with obstacle racing, and it's different, right? There's a massive component for sure, but when you get to a course like this in this style, your fitness it's not going to elevate you the way that it would in a Spartan race, in a DEKAFIT, obviously, because there's such a skill component that is necessary for this that it can just slow people down so much. But these athletes that she beat are fit athletes. Right? It's not like, oh, she just out obstacled people, which she clearly did that as well. But the very top of the top, they're still as fit as anybody else in the world in most things.
The running's not the separator, but you can't do it without being a good runner. But being a great runner doesn't help you. Because the obstacles are so paramount.
I mean, she basically beat everybody in the sport on the women's side besides Lindsay and maybe Emma, but I don't necessarily think Emma this wouldn't have been a favorable course for her in the 3K. It's just very, like, she's fallen off a couple of rigs in Spartan race. This is, 10 times that level realistically.
We saw Rose, who we know is a great athlete, is extremely experienced in obstacle racing. She finished in 25th. But again, we talk about with her as well, her obstacles, it's not why she's been successful, right? She can get through them, but her fitness and her grit is what really separates her on the US side of things. Over there, like, there's not a lot of, you can't access really either of those things as much.
You know what this showed me again, maybe in the most stark contrast I've ever seen, is that North American OCR is Spartan regardless of brand. Even Savage, which is like the people's champ in rig based, it's still run, do a obstacle, run, do a obstacle. You're still not doing 3, 4, 5 things in a row. It's still made in Spartan's image. Most of our events are outside of the very niche events, where over there they just have a different formula for how to make a course. We have a very Spartan specific fitness, and they have a very obstacle specific fitness. And very few people have both.
Some other names I'm scrolling down now. I saw Zuzana was out there. She finished 16th.
Corinne Carlson, her new last name is Abrahamson, so she's 11th.
Okay. And that's someone you have ahead. Jack, that's someone that you have on our all-time list. You're like, hey,
things have changed in the past year for Ida. So
yeah, this isn't power rankings, right? This is all-time rankings. So power rankings.
Yeah, Siri England. She won OCR Worlds the first year in Ohio. She got 20th. You know, she's as efficient as anybody on obstacles.
Sarah Beckstrom.
Yep.
Beckstrom.
Yep. Yeah, this is a really deep field.
So super deep field. Congratulations to Ida. I mean, she's obviously a great athlete and it continues to ascend, right? And I think she still wants to pursue high rocks and do all the functional stuff. Because I mean, she's done about as much as an athlete can do now in this space. I mean, what else do you think she really needs to?
Spartan Worlds podium this year, 3K.
And a 3K, that's definitely something that's on the table.
Yeah.
And 15K does stretch her a little bit. That distance seems to be a bit challenging for her.
Question.
She did get 7th in the desert in the Beast, so she can hang when needed.
Not bad. No,
I know. Yeah.
Our sport's weird in that we expect our best athletes to be able to do everything. And so I don't think it's fair to say you must be able to be an ultra athlete and short course and hybrid, except our best athletes can kind of do it all. And she hasn't done an ultra that I know of. Like that, we're starting to reach for, well, has she done an ultra? Or she's done it all, other than the things that you shouldn't be expected to do, other than the Mount Rushmore people have all run ultras and won them.
Right.
Bracken, on that topic, like you expect the best athletes to be able to do everything. You were just mentioning that US is basically just Spartan racing, no matter how you look at it. Like, do you expect them to do well at an event like this?
No, because we don't ever count this is an OCR in the North American sense. And
isn't it crazy though?
Because distance wise,
yeah, and I get what you're saying. I'm just paraphrasing, what you said right there. Because like literally, this was OCR Worlds at Europe, like in terms of the amount of competition that was there. Everybody bought in. You had very respectable names from the US show up. A couple notable, like from Canada, were not there, but pretty much like if you had VJ and Kempson, I think that would have probably rounded out the men's field. But you kind of had, like, you had Nicole, you had Annie, Rose is always up there. Like, it would have been exciting seeing an Emma or an Alex Walker, some of the other top 5 contenders in the US scene consistently. But you did get buy-in from the US athletes regardless, and the results speak for themselves.
We got partial buy-in.
Partial buy-in for sure.
At best.
Yeah.
Jack, would you consider this field that was assembled in Belgium to be stronger than the field that was assembled in Vermont for OCR World Championships last year? Vermont.
You had a lot of the same ones. Realistically, I'd have to look at it because it's like you lose out on Kempson, you lose out on VJ, you don't have Rylan, you don't have Tyler there, and they beat everybody at their own game. The difference is that course had Logan, he's podiumed before, but
it was a Spartan style course.
You didn't have 4,000 feet of elevation change. This had like 1,000. And if we're talking about standardization, is that what every future course is going to be? Or are they only going to have 1,000 feet? Because they have their specific model that they're looking for their standardized course. So I was a little confused why they did a 14K instead of a 15K. Maybe, there's room for change before they like nail down everything. But my guess is they're probably going to have a similar format going forward, like in terms of allowable elevation change during a course and the number of obstacles and stuff. That's just what it seems like their whole goal was, to get some consistency forever. Even if you have a different like terrain, you're still going to have the same amount of gain. You're still going to have the same flat, same downhill over the net course.
On the men's side, let's talk about these dudes. So the finishing time was 20:32. Are we saying Gian?
I don't know.
Jan?
Like lasagna. You're not pronouncing the hard G. Jan.
Oh.
There you go. It's probably John Maria realist if it was the English version of it, but Jan
Maria. Is that how we do Italian names? Or just like compare them to pasta?
Yeah.
And then just like say how the pasta's said?
Speak with your hands. Yeah.
I'm cool with that. I can do that. And then, okay, Jack, take us through what happened for the second and third place athletes with Jesse De Heer and Thibaut Debouchet.
You nailed it right there.
Nailed.
So yeah, the way that I saw it, and like we mentioned, there wasn't great coverage, so it's kind of just spectator video that was available. But Jesse De Heer ended up reaching a rig in second place, and he got there, and the rigs are supposed to have a platform according to the rule book, and that is what you must step on first, but there wasn't one. So he just kind of went in, and he's a taller, longer athlete, and he just went in, grabbed what he did, got halfway through. Marshall gets in his way and is like, "Go back! You didn't touch the starting platform that everybody's required to have like a starting position on." And he basically decided to go backwards on that rig without touching the ground, went back, touched what he thought was the starting point, went forward. Marshall told him something again. He went back a second time. So he basically went back and forth, and then forward a last time. So essentially 5 one-directional passes of this rig before he finished. And during the meantime, while he's hanging, that's when Stein Legrand, who got 4th, and Thibaut Debouchet and Jonas Drescher, a few of them got on the rig. And this is with, I think, about 800 meters left into the race. So you're about 3/4 done distance-wise during the race. Jesse fell back, and he ended up putting on a huge surge and ended up passing Thibaut and a couple of those other athletes, and ended up crossing the line in 2nd place. So apparently there was a little misunderstanding with the rule book, because they say you have to start on a platform, and somebody filed a protest against Jesse saying that he didn't follow the rules on that.
Wasn't it Thibaut?
I don't know if Thibaut did, or if somebody who was representing Team Belgium did, because every team had like a manager, and they could have done it.
Ian Hosick.
Yeah. I don't think Ian was actually the manager for it. There was some other. His name starts with an A. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but
disrespectful.
Yeah, like you remember. But anyway, an appeal was filed, and I guess they had like a review. I don't know what the review process was, and this is just kind of quick snippets that I saw. I know that there's a longer interview on ORM with Matt. He talked to both of them. But apparently the review happened, and they determined that even though he wasn't supposed to go backwards, because it says that you have to like maintain forward progress just so you're not stalling on the rig the whole time, the marshal was in the wrong and shouldn't have told him that. Basically should have said like drop or so. Basically the marshal gave wrong direction. So
because you're only allowed to have one attempt at these obstacles.
Correct, because of the band system.
So like realistically, you could be like, okay, you actually failed this obstacle because you did not comply with what the rules said. So I'm guessing that's what their protest was. Like, you shouldn't have been able.
It was the start point.
Yes. Right. You shouldn't have been able to go backwards.
The moment he touched it without starting correctly.
Yes.
It was an instant. It was an instant disqualification from the obstacle, according to the protest, because he did not mount it correctly.
Correct.
Which is stupid.
The first grip point.
We'll get to that, right?
Yeah. Let me just finish this, and then we can kind of discuss the intricacies of it. But anyway, after they did the review period, and FISO decided, oh, the marshal was in the wrong, so we can't really give you that 90-second penalty. Yes, so we're gonna actually put you at second. But Thibaut was also correct, because you technically did the obstacle wrong. So basically the protest was correct and wrong. So they decided we're just going to give both of you second place. That's what it is. So you had 2 people in second place on the podium. I might have a couple things incorrect on like the finer details of that, but that's
you were all right. That was perfectly. Correct. We won't hear anything else but that.
So I rewatched the video, and then there's a different angle as well. There's 2 videos on it. I rewatched them. There was some Thibaut's post and a few others' comments were very spiteful towards this act of this transgression on course. If you watch the video, he just ran up and got on the obstacle and started moving. He used the first piece, and as soon as he got there and the marshal said something, he immediately turned and went back.
Didn't argue.
Came down, and then immediately, like, there was no arguing.
He didn't come down. He stayed on it and went back.
No, I'm saying turned around and went back.
Yeah,
but there was no arguing. It was full compliance. There was no justification. It was just, it looked like the most appropriate response to an official you could ever have. Like, anyone could say, yes, he should have known better, but you can't say that this was a malicious act. He was clearly trying to listen to exactly what the officials were saying. And so at that point, they put themselves in a terrible spot, which is we have video of our official being wrong and our athlete being appropriate for the official. So you're in right off the bat, you're in a tough spot because you have a clear rule, albeit a dumb one, and a clear misapplication of the rule, and a clear adherence to the misapplication by the athlete. So what would you, I mean, what is the proper response there? I don't think any vitriol should be put towards him because he was compliant the entire time.
If you listen to Thibault's interview with Matt, he basically is like, I don't have anything against Yessa. I just want proper rules.
I want the place I didn't earn.
No,
there were some comments online, and it's second language. It could be people could use inappropriate wording that could seem harsh, but they didn't have a rule for when the rules weren't followed. Is the issue.
But the thing that would have happened if Yessa decided I'm going to drop down and put my feet on the ground and start over, that's a fail. So he was like, I'm not dropping. I'm just going back there and starting over because this marshal said I did something wrong, but I didn't drop. So I think it's just like you described, Bracken. It's like how were the rules applied, and he just simply adhered to what he was told on the spot right there. It's like, you're a marshal, you know it. I've got Race Brain right now. I read the rule book, but like if you're telling me I'm doing something wrong, I might have forgot something in the meantime. I'm not gonna deny you of telling me that I'm doing something wrong because you're level-headed at that moment.
So what would you guys do? How would you have solved this situation if you were FISO?
Offsetting penalties. Just 2 wrongs, the place just stands. Like Yessa cross second, T-Bolt cross third. That's the placement. Because I mean, I'm sure the penalty loop would have been more costly to Yessa than what he did. I think it was
like 90 seconds. Rig. It was like significant.
And he ended up, but like, so how much time do you think he spent on that rig? Like 40 extra seconds?
Say 30.
30?
Yeah, I would say he probably was on there at least 15 extra seconds.
And he crossed, and he crossed the line 6 seconds in front of T-Ball. So like the penalty loop, you can realistically say that he would have been back into 5th, 6th-ish if he did fail.
I thought that he would have been. I thought he would have been 9th if that was the case, because he would have been 22, 30. Yeah, that would have been 9th place.
Is it worth?
There's only 2 options. As it stands, as we cross the line, Growing Pains will use this as a learning experience, but he did follow the rules of the on-course, which on-course always trumps rule book.
Yeah.
On-course interpretation always trumps it until a protest. So it's either as stands or you flip those 2. I think those are the only 2 calls you can make.
Yeah.
Why would you flip those 2?
They should not have given double second places, though. That's at the end of the day. That was
you could have penalized and said, he's right. He would have passed you on the loop. We don't know what would have happened after that, but we'll give Thibault 2nd and you're 3rd. I think it's a worse execution of it, but a tie is horrible.
Steen would be like, why would he get 2nd? And
right. So I think you have to just let it go. Or, I think that's the only thing you can do. Because if you punish him, you're also saying don't listen to our marshals on course.
And was it? I mean, I didn't look at the rule book in preparation for this, but that's when you get into that Spartan scenario where it's like 10-minute penalty, where like they don't have anything written and they just like make up something on the spot. It didn't seem like they wanted or had anything to do for that, and it wasn't that he broke the rules on purpose.
Yeah, you know? If you listen to the ORM interview with Thibault, he basically said they need to just simplify the rule book. He's sick of like Section 2, Part A, subparagraph, that like stop having scenarios for scenarios. Basically, just say something simple like you must start behind this line and touch the first implement no matter what, and then hit the bell with your hand or foot at the end. That is it.
That's what it comes down to, right? Is that they're actually neutering the race by having this dumb. Do you see what the platform was? It was a little disc.
It was a floating disc. Yeah, it looked like he was on a platform and just skipped the first implement. But he just grabbed the rope instead of using his foot on it. That's so dumb.
It neuters the course because what's the greatest part about OCR Worlds? What do we all talk about? Are people leaping and flying and taking chances. If you all have to start from a stationary position on this, it negates that. And since the obstacles are the name of the game there, let the obstaclers, let them cook. Let's let Russ cook here. That's what we want out of all of this. And so it overly complicates it and it dumbs the race down. Just like you said, have your line. It's long jump. As long as you take off from here, we don't care how you get across. We want to encourage fantastic feats of athleticism.
Now, the funny thing is, sorry, I'll make this quick, but if you watch the 100-meter, which was put on by FISO in the same exact competition, so many of them, they had like 4 consecutive wheels, and people would jump out to the second or third one and skip that first thing. They'd leap past it and not touch every single implement.
And it's awesome.
Okay there. It's okay there for some reason, but it wasn't when it did here. So it's like a little double standard.
That's what it is. Like you said, like if T-Ball is calling for a simplification of the rule book, just simplify the race. Don't have these stupid, like arbitrary rules set in for that. Like maybe it's for safety. I don't know why you would have something like that, but like this is a kind of a dangerous race no matter what. I don't see what the benefit is to making you touch every implement along the way. That like takes away the skill. Like you said, Bracken. I mean, but that's also part of this course is that like it's a blend of mandatory completion and penalty, right? Like you don't get a chance. And that's our biggest gripe, not our biggest gripe with Spartan, but a gripe with Spartan is that there's no incentive to take those risks. Like the penalty's too great. So like in this case, I kind of like this band format where like
so do the athletes, it seemed. If you
well,
listen
you
to
should
the
get
interviews.
multiple attempts. I don't understand why it's one attempt. Like you should get to choose to go back and because it's still a big penalty. It's still like doing burpees, right? But it's you should be able to go back. I
think the most logical way, and that's always a dangerous thing to say if you're wrong, but the most logical way of looking at a rule is what is the purpose of the rule? It's generally to protect you from something or to protect other people from something, whether it's the integrity of the sport or safety or whatever. So what is the purpose of a mounting rule? What does it enhance or protect the sport from? Like, why would you have a rule for it?
So that you don't, I think that's to protect yourself. So you don't jump out.
But then why wouldn't
risks.
the 100 meter, which happens at 3 times the speed, why wouldn't that have it?
Less tired. I don't know.
That's not it.
Well, what would it be? It's like you're not less sweaty, less muddy, less.
No, it's done. The only explanation I can find for it is that it's done to simplify it. We don't have to guess if they took off from the right spot because we can see them standing on it. And yet, since it doesn't do that, we've already seen that, there's no need for the rule. Safety is not the issue. It is way more dangerous once you're swinging than it is jumping to it. That's not when people fall. And that's not when they get horribly hurt. So since we can't really, unless someone out there can prove why it's a beneficial rule, then it's a useless rule. So they should scrap it for version 2 and move on.
I can see scenarios for like the forward progress having that for like safety, because if you get on an obstacle, you're on a rig or something and you're just hanging there and then you just decide to go backwards because it's a better grip. Now you're hogging the lane, preventing other people if they come up behind you. I could see that being an issue. But like if we're just talking a starting point, just a simple line that no one's going to confuse that. It's language irrelevant. It's like IKEA instructions. You don't need words for that. It's just start behind this line, grab the first thing if that's universal. That way, like if you're at a Spartan race, you're at a Savage race, you're at OCR series, anything over in Europe, South Africa, Asia, doesn't matter. You just kind of know what the rules are because
just get through the obstacle however you can.
I don't even like the forward progress rule.
Me neither. Just
because where does that start? If I'm on this, can I reach back to like gain momentum?
Get a bigger swing. That's true.
That's also gray. Just get through the freaking obstacle. They should make it less however you want to. And I know people hate grabbing above the grips or whatever. Just let people get through however they want. Just get point A to point B.
Because then all you have to do is create the obstacle in a way that it can't be mistaken.
Yeah.
Like if you hang it from a very thin rope or chain, there's no point to grab up there.
Yeah,
if there's nothing to grab, you won't do it. Yeah, wrap it in barbed wire.
Color coded yellow or something. Like if it's yellow, don't touch it.
Yeah.
No, not even.
Red is dead. Don't touch it.
I'm colorblind, so are probably 8% of the racers there. So
we'll coat it with honey and Africanized bees.
That's what I'm talking about.
Got some murder hornets on this. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
Anyways, point is, all I'm trying to say is that rules shouldn't exist for the sake of having more rules. Yeah. If your rule creates the need for a second rule and then a third, change the first one to avoid the subsequent rules. And that's what, and they're going to leave this with a ton of suggestions, we'll call it. Hopefully, if they are the committee, the World committee that they claim to be, they will take it under advisement and they will do something about it.
Shit, I didn't realize. I didn't even know what an obstacle race was. I didn't realize this
What are
stuff
your
could
thoughts on this whole appeal process? We've like only seen that a couple of times. If you think of OCR Worlds, when Rylan, he got DQ'd, it wasn't even an appeal process. They saw it on the course, and he knew even before he crossed the finish line, he was going to get DQ'd. And we've seen it with Ryan Woods and other examples, Mick Girello hopping over the mud pit. They'll just give them an arbitrary 10-minute penalty. There's no real like appeal at that point, yet they used outside cameras for this particular example to apply a rule that they then took back. It's a weird precedent.
I actually like it. I think you have to have an appeals process in any sport. It must be there. And I think it's foolish to ever turn down a camera angle. I can understand why people would say we don't accept outside, but if you've got it, if you have the ability to make a more informed decision, I think you have to take it. The problem is how the appeals process works must be streamlined. Charging athletes to submit it, that's completely ridiculous.
How much?
You read that the same
More
way,
than
right?
$1?
It was $100 or something.
$100.
Yeah.
Get it back if you win?
I thought that's what I saw in the comments.
Is it like the NFL?
It costs money to file an appeal, which
get it back?
there is precedent for that in like Braden's racing league. It costs money to submit an appeal, but it's like $20 and you get it back if it's upheld. However, in a race that's trying to bring together a world of under-sponsored athletes, why would you punish someone or put in a barrier to success for trying to see good being done?
Well, they clearly don't want people to do it.
Also, the rules and the officiating has to be upgraded so that an appeals process is a last resort rather than just like a reverse card in Uno that everyone's playing because it gets the wild way. Hey, I'm going to submit an appeal and you're going to submit an appeal. And there were so many appeals submitted this weekend that clearly the process for needing one needs to change more than the appeal process needs to change.
Well, maybe that's how they can fund a live stream for $1. It's just like, they just charge the athletes to appeal. I'm cool with that. Give us a good product out there.
Make the live stream pay us to watch it, and we are the appeals panel. We all vote. Give us all a clicker, and we'll all vote.
I don't think this is a terrible idea. I would be okay with this. But
an athlete shouldn't ever have to say, I didn't want to pay more money to get my justice done. They should just be able to trust that the federation is going to protect them.
I think appeals do have its place. I personally don't love, and I don't know if this is just like a matter of sportsmanship or why I generally feel like this, but I don't like that you could be like, that person cheated, I'm filing an appeal against them, as opposed to I was wrongfully told something different or something happened that was unfair to me on the course. Because like then it is like a slippery slope. It's like, can you just appeal the entire race and just hope somebody screwed up along the way? And then like that's like, where do you draw the line? So I don't love that it's like what happened to T-Ball. Like Yesa didn't do anything to him. You know what I mean? So like there was nothing wrongful that happened to that person who ultimately filed the appeal. Where if it was, I think Yesa should have to be able to file appeals. Like this person was in the wrong, got in my way. Like that's how I feel about it. I don't like pointing fingers at other athletes.
I find it's an interesting phenomenon in sports that all these like big, tough alpha athletes will complain about officiating or whine about foul calls and everything. Because they're the same athletes that would never dare call a foul in pickup. Like I'm way too tough and manly or womanly for that. I will never call a foul. I'll make you call it. But if the official doesn't call it, I'm going to whine and throw a fit. But the reason that happens is because as soon as you provide officiating in a rule book, the athletes assume it will be carried out fairly. And there's nothing that throws an athlete off more than an unfair competition. If it's on their terms, sure, there's no officials. We know it's going to be unfair. We're just going to accept it. But as soon as you say this is how we have a federation, we have a rule book, we have marshals on course, then it is like this grievance that's been done to me if something is misapplied or unfair. And so I think if you're the one providing it, you have to be responsible for fixing it as well. The athletes shouldn't be pitted against each other online, on social media, and on site in order for you to come up with the correct call.
I don't think
athletes should be able to even appeal. If this is truly world and federation, only federation should be able to. And realistically, there should be a panel of neutral parties. Otherwise, it's like the same countries, like in track, always appeal everything. And
get racebrain@gmail.com. We're available.
I think that they should also have it public, whatever this appeal thing is. Don't hide in a room and let us know what's going on. Don't hide behind the scenes.
Town hall meeting style.
Yeah. Invite both athletes who are affected, or all athletes, or the federation, whatever. Someone who's actually affected by this, they should be in the room to make sure that there's a fair decision made, and they can give a counter argument. Like, they're the ones who touched the obstacle or were directly affected by it. They should have a little bit of input, regardless of what video angle may or may not have been available. I think that should be required.
We're getting to this area that Grit Games talked about afterwards. Like, these wouldn't be such a big deals if the podcast and media didn't make such a big deal about it. However, this is the leading story on all these athletes' social media channels. And since the race was difficult to watch and the coverage was pretty poor in terms of World Obstacle doing things for it, we're getting it from the athletes. And this is the leading story coming out. It's unfortunate. Like, this is their inaugural event. They had such a great melting pot of the nations, and they had as many submissions of appeals as they had like social media posts about updates on the race.
And they also haven't paid out yet or announced the prize money.
Well, I was just going to ask, what was the prize money? They don't know.
And yes, he said, I think FISO was helping with the European Championship earlier this year in June, and they told him, we'll pay you in October. He hasn't been paid yet for that either. So I wouldn't be expecting this money for a long time.
How many appeals they get. They got to see how many appeals they get.
Yeah, I'd have been charging people for appeals too.
Yeah.
Well, and that's amazing that they got this type of turnout for that without being paid. And maybe I'm just jaded on this, but if I don't know, I'm not going.
What was the reasoning given to us of why this FISO World Obstacle was needed? Originally, back in my initial conversations with Ian Adamson and his initial conversations on interviews, it was, there is no regulation in the sport. There is no one to have the athletes back. If you are wronged by a race, there is nothing you can do about it. They need rights. They need regulations. They need someone to band together for them. And this organization stepped up to do it, and right away has committed the holy trinity of OCR. We didn't announce our prize money. We didn't pay you. And we're not quite sure how our rules work. Like, the things that they're supposed to be able to handle across the board, they're like, let's get all this out of the way in our first event. All right, now that we're officially an OCR event,
now
we might not pay you.
If you crush that first event of your kind, you've already got that athlete buy-in. If you just do the few small simple things correct, we're probably going to be impressed by whatever obstacles are there. Realistically, as long as you pay the people and there aren't any controversies, people are coming back for year two. And
seems hard.
Questionable. You know that old question, what is it, from ancient Rome or whatever? Who watches the watchmen? Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be our watchman. You're supposed to watch out for it. But if you're doing the same thing that you're protecting us from, like, how do you challenge the world organization that stepped up to protect your rights and won't pay you? Who watches the Watchmen? What happens here?
We watch the Watchmen, BK.
Race Brain does.
That's what we're doing here. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just a byproduct of the sport. It happens in the same way with with different organizations over and over and over. And I think that's the thing with the rules, is that it's just like kind of complicated. It's like not very straightforward what OCR.
It doesn't need to be.
Well, it just continuously happens. Like, people will kind of bend the rules or get through things because there's so many variables. Where in other sports, it's like black and white. It's like, stay within these lines. It's like, start here, finish here. This is just like an explosion of circumstances that don't
raise your hand.
Account for it.
Raise your hand if you know anyone who is part of creating the rule book.
I don't know. My hand's not up. Jack's hand's not up.
Okay. If we know most of the people who are the people you would go to make an OCR rule book, and we don't know of any of them who were contacted for it, that's why your rule book might suck. Sure, I'm sure this is going to offend whoever was part of it, but it's like we've talked to Spartan for years. You have all the field experts that you can use to do this. Talk to Jack Bauer on a rule book. It's not hard. Jack has no dog in the fight. He's not like me where he's biased against Spartan or against Ian Adamson. He's not like Rich where he doesn't like running down hills or in dirt or
how dare you,
or doesn't like Europe. But Jack Bauer, yeah. If Jack's not part of it or doesn't know who was part of it, the rule book might not be great.
I would just make it the Wild West out there. I would just have like rule 1, start, rule 2, finish.
Legally or illegally.
However you can get there, get there.
The way that I see it, this is coming from like the engineering field. So if you look at all the design codes that existed in the 1960s, 1970s, that they reference when you're in school and stuff, they're like the width of a 70-page notebook. They're small. And now if you look at them, you kind of need to be strong to carry these because it's like 2,000 pages to read some of these design guides. It's like, what has happened since then that has required you to add 2,000 pages to whatever was working before? Like, why do you need to do all these changes? And it's all because they're adding subsection B, part 1, paragraph 2. Like, stop complicating it. Just keep it simple. You can do a whole lot more in fewer words, realistically.
I don't believe in that.
I think so.
Don't you dare limit my words, Jack.
After car analogies, you have unlimited words. Jack. Otherwise, Bracken, you got to keep it down.
All right, let's move along. We spent lots of time on the 3K. On to the 15K. On the women's side, Nicole Miracle took it down. Alyssa Petrova was second. Ida finished third. We had Elricky Evanson in fourth. Siri England was fifth. We had Annie Doobie coming through in sixth. I wish Annie would have run that 3K. I don't know why she didn't. She would have done really well.
I think she wanted to be fresh.
Yeah, this seemed like a grind. I mean, Nicole's time was 78 minutes, 118.11 for the win, and Alyssa was closer to 120. So they were out there for a minute. And any other notable names as we scroll through? But I mean, these are a lot of the, Alyssa, Ida, Elricky, Annie, and on the Spartan scene, they've been in the top 10, I believe, the past 2 years. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure where Elricky was the past couple of years, but these are good athletes who we've seen.
She's been around top 10 in the world. Yeah,
I thought so. I thought she was somewhere in that mix. She gets drafted, that's for sure.
Definitely. Yep.
And then on the men's side, we had, hold on, my page is refreshing. Igor Belaslov, Jan Belasov.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Jan, like lasagna, Savani was second there.
Had himself a weekend.
He sure did. Luca Pisani was third. His fourth place name ain't happening, dude.
Try it. You gotta.
From Portugal, Goncalo Prudencio.
It's got a little accent under that C. We know you dominate that syllable, Rich.
What is that? What does that accent do?
Prudencio.
Huh?
Prudencio. That's his last name.
What's the first name?
Why are you going to me? You're the expert.
Nah. You're over here.
It's either Gonzalo or Gonchalo. I think it's Gonchalo.
Yeah, you don't know what that accent is.
Francois has that, so it's a soft S sound. So Gonzalo, probably.
Gonzalo.
This is what we're bringing to the people right here.
This is what they want.
Guessing about other languages.
I gotta sharpen up on my Spanish. I know Portuguese is not Spanish, but I gotta get my Spanish right by tomorrow.
You don't need it till you're in the field.
I was gonna say
you're a doer. Weekend.
That's true.
You landed in that country, you would get through customs.
I got hola. and then I got to look up how, I don't speak Spanish. I forget how to even say that. Jack, how do you say that?
Say what?
I don't speak Spanish.
No hablo español.
That's the one. That's what I need. No
there
hablo.
Oh my.
Okay.
I'll give you some other tips to say. Just don't look it up. What I'm saying.
Frank Oostrom, that's one I got, and T-Ball was down 7.
Stein Legrand in 5th. You skipped him.
Stein Legrand had a good weekend. Yesterday was 9th down here, and he seems to be more of a short course specialist. This took the guys closer to 71 minutes, and then top 20 finished out around 80 minutes. And then the top American, was Ian Hosick in 32nd at 1:20.39. It's a pretty tight field. Right behind TVT. And then we had other guys. Nick Mask was down 44th. Kevin Thompson was 49th. And I thought we had another one in here as well, right? Where was Chris Marone?
Yeah, I was going to say Chris, I thought was here.
Or Sam Osborne, who was
Disqualified Sam Osborne. DSQ for Sam. Ryan Kempson, DNS.
Got it. So on the women's side, Nicole gets has she won the 15K in OCR World Championships?
Yes.
Thought she has, yeah. Over in
England one?
In London.
Yep.
So it's a good win on her end, beating some of the top athletes that we've seen the past couple of years. Where do you think Nicole's at? Do you think she's at 90, 95% of her previous?
Gotta be higher.
You think to beat this field? I was surprised how
78
well she
minutes when the guys win in 71 and she's taken
What's
down.
What's that percentage? Is that 9% or is it worse?
I was gonna say it's probably about 10%.
Worse. She would be like
quick math. It's 9%. 71 divided by 78. That's 9%.
What percent was she behind when she won the World Championships in Spartan?
I'll need to look up the split, but that 9 to 10% is kind of the rule of thumb. So I think she's there.
Pretty close
on this kind of course.
Yeah,
I think she's close to back. And here's the interesting thing with her is that because she's going to be slightly more cautious in and out, she might be able to run harder.
That's interesting. And this wasn't a hilly, mountainous, treacherous. But I don't know what the footing was like. I'm sure it was muddy.
It was very hot. You saw athletes put in like
hot
ice
footing.
Cubes. Yeah, no.
Yeah, hot coals.
Yeah. But no, it was very hot temperature. But if you look at Nicole, 78 minutes and then basically 80 on the dot for Elisa Petrova. And then you had two other women, Ida and Ulrike, finish under 83. And then 88 was 5th place. So she basically beat 10th place by 10 minutes. I think Nicole's back. Or 5th place by 10 minutes.
Oh, she's back in this column. Then we have to see her on technical, and then we have to see her on a mountain. And I think that's probably the order that it will work in terms of being all the way back.
This is where she's at her best. In
runnable.
Something runnable. She's obviously great at obstacles. Yeah, technical obstacles is an advantage for her, or not a disadvantage, I should say, where it is for most of the American athletes.
I'm buying into Nicole being fully back. At worst, 99%.
99. Okay.
99.
All right, prove it.
I'm only saying no because I would think as her, she wouldn't want to hear that she's fully back. She certainly can't possibly feel like she's got the restrictor plate off in every sense yet. So I'm sure she's looking and thinking, I can be better than this next year.
It's been 2 years.
And she's already dominant.
2 years, right? 2.5
2 years
almost.
Yeah, but her time frame wasn't the normal time frame. She had a regression. She basically started over.
Adrian Peterson did it in like 6 months, dude.
And then was out of the league a year after that.
He's the gold standard.
Not really.
No. You got 2,100 yards roughly, yeah.
Shout outs to Annie. She's had a bit of an up and down past year and a half with some injuries. So for her to be back and being in the top 10 in a field like this, finishing 6th, is very encouraging. So again, same thing. I wouldn't think that this is her at 100, maybe 90, 95, just based off of how much she's been able to train over the past year and a half or so. But her obstacle game is just so good. She's just impressive, man. She's tough. She just put it out there and she just belongs. It's crazy. Like 2.5 years ago, she was an age grouper, right? And now
a little before it was pre-COVID, but yeah, she earned her stripes through the age group ranks. Doesn't happen often.
Yeah, no. So shout outs to her. That's amazing. Who was and then it was Rose was in 47th, or she did. Was that a DNS?
Rose DNS. Yep.
And Jamie was in 52nd. Are these all? How do you? What are these?
If you're 41 finished, DNS did not start. DSQ is disqualified, which means that they probably lost the band and then were unable to finish.
Is that written somewhere? I can't see that on the results.
Yeah, Jamie 52nd, DSQ. Jamie Brusa.
Okay. Yeah, Jamie's a really strong runner. Her obstacle game has never been her strength here. I was a little surprised to see her head over there, but probably just for the experience and the fun, being able to represent the country, something I'm sure she's interested in. But obstacles, that's never been her game.
Yeah,
it wasn't entirely spelled out what these races were going to look like when the team selection was first announced.
I thought we kind of were like, if it's going to be in Europe, we know this is going to be a Euro
yeah, but
style.
We were guessing. There was no indication exactly of who you should bring over.
So if FISO was invented essentially or formed in order to have standardization, like, are we going to have this style at every single future FISO event, even in North America? Or are we going to see more of a North American twist on it if that happens? Because at the end of Yes's interview, he said, do you guys know where the next one's going to be?
They're talking South America, right?
They said Costa Rica.
Whoa, that's cool.
So not South
You've been there,
America.
Bracken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had
gonna be hot
diarrhea
and
for
humid.
like 11 days.
Nice. Did you race down there or just went down there and pooped?
Family vacation. Went down
Nice.
there, pooped. There's a tarantula in our outhouse.
That's scary.
Pretty sweet.
That's not
Got some
fun.
good jungle runs in prior to the poop starting.
Are they? They're not poisonous though, right? Tarantulas? They're just huge.
Some have some version of toxin.
You don't want to get bit
Yep.
by a bug
You
in
don't get bit
general.
by it, but it's not like a.
Yeah.
You rarely get bit by a tarantula.
Yeah.
It's not like a.
You've got to
It's
like
got those
brown
little
recluse.
hairs on it that'll fire up your skin.
You could kick a tarantula. No problem.
not if it's
This
from
thing was like
Australia.
a pet by the end of it. It was never moving. It just was sitting there like a bathroom attendant.
You just let it hang out. That'd be a
Eventually. I mean,
mess.
by day 7, I didn't care what was going on.
I had like an 1.5 or 2 inch zebra spider in my garage the other day, and I was trying to get out my luggage, and there was like a spider web tied to it, and then I'm like, oh, let me get that, and then something started moving, and it was this like massive thick spider, and I was like, oh man. So I told
You screamed. You screamed.
No,
I would love to hear
I'm
you
the
scream
bug.
from
I'm
a
the bug
spider.
guy in my house. I relocated it into the front yard, so I don't kill bugs.
I try not to. Bugs are not welcome in this household. However, I don't care that much, but the household
kill
doesn't
bugs.
like bugs.
Yeah,
Ever seen Starship Troopers? Everyone needs to do their part.
I was thinking about that, man. If they could rebel against us, it wouldn't go well. They would show no mercy.
no.
We'd be done.
Well, they would show no mercy on us. All right, on the women's end, let's move. I guess that's it, right?
Team race.
Come on, dude.
No, there was controversy there also.
There
Yeah.
was. I don't even
And
know
some
what I'm
sweet
looking at here.
obstacles.
Yeah,
Oh,
talk about
totally.
your favorite obstacle. Goofy Games won.
There's footage of the Denmark team rolling a tractor tire. Not even a tractor, just like a big wheel tire.
Much
Down
smaller
the
than
road.
the Spartan style.
One person
One-
pushing
Was
it,
it?
one like
Look kind of big.
pretending to support it. Leon just kind of giggling.
It's just rolling.
What were we testing here? Was this one of like those Joe Farm things? Like, hey, I need this tire over here, guys. This is your task is to move 3 people to roll a 80-pound tire. What are we testing? So that's my submission for, not top 10 video showing the amazing athleticism of our sport for the year. That's my submission.
Yeah.
What was the format for this? Was it the way that OCR World Championships does it with relay, or was it the way that Spartan used to do it, where you had to go through all of the obstacles like together as a team? Or why not just cross country? When are we going to get our cross country race for OCR? I don't understand.
They could have
Why
done
not
that
cross-country?
just for the solo divisions, realistically.
Yeah, they should have. They didn't score the team for the solo races.
I don't think so.
That's a huge miss. Huge
Big
miss.
Netherlands would have done really well.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. But Thomas Peterson, he's a listener to the show. He's from Denmark. He kind of filled me in on the Sunday drama, if you guys want to hear it. So Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium, they were all fighting for the podium. You can see in the results. I think Denmark ended up finishing
For the
3
men.
seconds ahead. Yep, for the
For
men.
men? Yeah, okay,
Yep.
got it up.
They were like a minute ahead of 4th place or so. And so at the end, someone from Denmark had a penalty that they had to do. The official told that person to go. So he did. The rule book did not say that it was an issue though. So apparently just before the race, a briefing was given to the national coaches, and he specifically said not to the athletes. So only the national coaches heard this right before the start. And it specified that you had to wait for all teammates before starting a penalty loop. So Denmark finished first, just ahead of the Netherlands a few seconds, and about 30 seconds later, Belgium crossed. And then the complaints and appeals started, and it was a mess. And Denmark was then moved to bronze, while Belgium was assessed some small penalty for a different infraction. And then the different penalties, they had different penalty lengths. And so as a result, Belgium finished behind Denmark because of adding the penalty time. It was just a mess. So basically, it was a last minute briefing that the manager heard, but not the athletes themselves on when to go when the penalty is assessed. So there's more inconsistency there.
This isn't their fault. This is endurance sports in general, outside of triathlon. Name me a successful major sport where the penalties are assessed after the competition's over.
None. Is that ever the case? Like, can you ever lose something after an event?
Fraser
other than endurance?
Matt Fraser with the sandbag falling out of his bag. CrossFit Games.
He did get a penalty for that.
Not a sport.
Not a sport.
Name a major sport where the game can end, the winner be declared, and then you sit around and find out, was it real or not?
It happens within plays. Like in football, I think it's the worst part about football is that something happens. Like, let's not get excited yet.
The only time I see this happen is when like an athlete trips during track in a qualifier, and then they might get placed into the final because of some infraction, but it's never the final result gets affected. It's who gets to participate.
Yeah,
and usually in
triathlon even fixed it with their penalties mid-race.
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
Put you in a box.
I was going to say they have the box. I thought.
Yeah.
For doing what?
You have to serve a penalty if you cut the course or if you draft and non-draft legal, or if something happens, you're assessed a penalty and you serve it at transition. Easy peasy. Sometimes in ITU, they'll just serve it on the side of the road.
Huh. Right. I think that this is the worst part about OCR.
Yep. Is
that there are this is super gray area and the penalties are implemented post. You go to, you don't know what the result is until it pops up later on. You have to do this process. You just have to cross your fingers. It's just not, that's something that really needs to change. And that it just like, and that's what happened when DEKA started to be a little like put on like live streams and put in front of people. People were still like, oh, they should be penalized for that because it got so ingrained within this culture that like the Spartan people were like, wait, why can't they be penalized after? It's just like, because that's not how it works. There's
judgment
officials
call
out there.
In the moment, it stands.
You cross the line, that's it.
Yeah. And this isn't, to be fair, this is the only thing I've brought up that's not their fault. This is industry-wide. This isn't, it's just bad. But again, if your product creates problems, you change the product. If your team race creates controversy, change the task. I know this is a suggestion for round 2, but there are very easy simplification ways to do this that you avoid this process. One of which is you don't create a rule on race morning without making sure that every single person on the Sun attends the meeting and it is reiterated at the start line, and all the officials have a meeting and all the course marshals know how to carry out the ruling as well.
But if you have all of them attend the meeting, like, don't you think that language barrier might affect some things? Do you think that they had a rule book available in multiple languages? Do you think that they had an official there explaining stuff in Russian versus Spanish versus English versus Italian? Like, do you think that that was actually going on?
Well, again, if you can't do all those things, take the easy route and don't make the change until next time. Yeah. So, like, I'm with you on this. It's just, it's tough to put any first-time event on. But there are things you can do to hedge your bets. Race day changes. If you can't implement it correctly, you are asking for trouble, especially with language barriers, like you said, Jack.
Yeah.
So on the team race on the men's side, Spain won. Lithuania got second. The Netherlands finished third. On the women's
Spain
side,
crossed in third and won. That's what we're saying?
Wait, no, Spain? I don't think that they were in the top 3 for men. I thought it was first place Spain, Denmark, then Netherlands, then Belgium.
What
Denmark
I'm looking
didn't
at?
So
national
something
team, right? I'm in the wrong category. I'm in the wrong category.
Okay.
Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. That was on the men's
men's Denmark
side.
Did not win.
They did something with the penalties after with the appeals that resulted in them having that overturned, or Netherlands getting a worse penalty to put Belgium back in first, or Denmark back in first, but Netherlands was third. I saw a Danish
post that they were gutted that they lost their world championship because of a ruling.
Yeah.
On the women's side,
Sebastian posted on it. Bottom line, if we're confused, imagine how the athletes felt there.
I'm out.
Like
on the women's side, Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Poland 4th, Sweden 5th. Do we do adaptive or let's do adaptive? We're here. Jack wants to do. We got it. Controversies across the board. Denmark again, Netherlands, and the UK. Great finish for UK and adaptive. Mixed. This just says neutral. Neutral wins. The Netherlands and then Sweden. I don't know what that is.
The U.S. team for mixed had Jamie, Annie, and Ian Hosick.
And they finished 20th.
Yep. 20th. People must have been wrecked by the end of this weekend, realistically, especially coming from the U.S. just because of the grip intensive nature of it.
So there was also a little bit of controversy in the 100. I feel like we're just talking about all the controversies, which is unfortunate. Again, because it was hard to watch. I did catch some of the clips.
It affects like some of the future decisions that they do for formatting.
And what people should expect. So apparently what happened in the 100, there's like, I guess the format is you qualify through on time and then you get put in a bracket, right? So the top, what was it, 16, and then it's head to head. The next day through the finals until like competition style single elimination.
Right there, yeah.
So there was a designated time for you to complete your rounds to get your.
It's important to know the times. You want me to read off the exact window?
Sure, please.
If you've got info.
10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Friday.
So that's in the rule book. This is what you're reading from?
This is what was given to the athletes prior to the competition starting. Here is your qualifying window. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday to get your 30-second qualifying runs in. So just to reiterate, you're working like 8-hour days, back-to-back days to get a 30-second run done.
They do a similar thing at OCR Worlds by Adventure as well.
No, I'm saying there's a pretty big window.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So plenty of opportunities to do it. Do you get 2 times through? Do you get 2 opportunities? Or how many opportunities do you get?
2,
Unlimited?
How many?
Up to 2?
Yeah.
So you get 2 shots to do it. And apparently you can then see where you're standing in terms of your time. So you know, like, if you need to be more aggressive, if you need to take some risks in that second attempt, and you know where you stand as the day ends. So apparently what then FISO did is they opened up another qualification window on Sunday. Sunday
morning.
Sunday morning. So they give everybody the entire day on Saturday. So people went
Friday. 15 hours between those 2 days.
So they went
15 hours of qualification time.
And then they opened up a third.
But it was not told to everyone.
That is insane.
So you had athletes go to bed Saturday night, ranked in the top, 16?
Mm-hmm. I think 16.
To do the final competition and wake up and go to the course and find out that they are no longer in the final because there was a third qualification window open that not everyone found out about, and you have now been bumped out, and there is no time for you to now do it because you missed the window.
I would have went nuts.
Yeah.
The reason was not everyone got to do their qualifying run, so we opened up another window.
These guys
not everyone had 30 seconds to fit into 15 hours over 2 days.
They need an iron fist over there, man. They are just opening these things up and they're compromising way too much. Way too much. They're just like listening to stories and like being compassionate for them. It's like, no, here's the rules. Here's the time. You missed it. You had a gazillion hours to get it. Sorry. Go home.
Of all the issues that arose, you could argue all of them except this one. This is egregious.
This is terrible.
The other one's like, we made a big deal on it because they said we're the world championship, we're the federation, and they came out and put on a so-so performance. But this one is truly bad.
Bad.
This would be like somebody running the 3K on Saturday after it's on the 15K day, and they're like, but I ran faster than the winner. Like, I ended up winning. Give me the gold. That's just not allowed. And that's essentially what they did here.
This is showing up for the 100-meter prelims at World Championships, and like, I couldn't make it to my prelim. Could I run it now? Like, yeah, you can.
Yeah,
you run a good time, and they bump out 9th place, and don't tell 9th place that this is happening.
It's crazy.
The thing I still don't like it because 15 hours is so much time. Athletes were probably like, well, I'm racing in the morning. I'm just not going to run it in the morning. I need to get some lunch. Oh crap, there's just not enough room in the afternoon. That's on them. That's because they didn't want to sacrifice their 3K or 15K. I can see them being like, okay, we're going to extend it till 7 o'clock on Sunday because there's a line right now. Everybody, if you are in line, you get to finish your heat. We're not opening this the next day. Everyone's going to bed tonight knowing if you're in it. And I still don't like that. Like you gave a defined window with 15 hours over the course of 2 days. Find a way to make it work.
So was that the case that they wanted to give athletes the opportunity who ran in the 3K and 15K who might not wanted to risk it before? The opportunity
what the athletes did.
That?
Yeah.
What's that, BK?
Have to be that.
It has to be that, right?
Unless they said every time I showed up, there was a queue of people waiting, and
I had to run a race. Right.
And I didn't want to wait around that whole time. So, and then I came back and it was overcast or it drizzled. I don't know what you would say, but I can't come up with a reason where in 15 hours, you couldn't find the chance to make one run, especially since it was open Friday.
That's crazy.
Well, you know what it is? They gave them too much time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I think you're right on that. They should have figured out like a window. And this made people pick. Just pick. You can't do both. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you can't do all three, like, that's just not how it's going to work here.
No.
So this is the one that people truly got screwed over on. You had people travel all the way over there, qualify for the finals, and not get to run finals. That's really bad.
Terrible.
Like, open for some sort of legal recourse kind of bad.
Potentially. Yeah.
Not that I'm advocating that, but would I be shocked?
The American coming out of you.
Yeah.
No, I'm so against that.
Get him.
But would I be shocked if someone wanted to?
Seriously, I mean, you spent a lot. It couldn't have been cheap to get over there.
No. Even if you're from Europe, like, it's still
emotional
time away
damages.
From your job. Yeah, emotional damages.
And you know what they didn't have an option for?
An appeal.
An appeal.
They didn't have an appeal? Oh my God! I'm sure if you would have appealed, they'd have been like, you could just we'll just do 18.
You got $100? Yeah.
I'm surprised that's what they didn't do is just give buys and just extend it out and just have like round robin or pigtail.
We understand it caused issues. Everyone who was already qualified and got bumped out comes in. Now it's a 24-person final.
It's still unfair because those people are going to have to do more
racing,
more races. So it's certainly unfair, but at least they get a chance to compete, man. Like that.
Every
sucks.
one of them would have taken the chance to be at a disadvantage and still compete.
I would have been pissed. I would have been griping, but yeah,
I would have been furious.
Yes.
All right, so let's move along. We've been pretty critical overall. The event seemed like it was, for the first time, well attended, strong competitors. Some I think legitimate world champions came out of it. A lot of room to improve. If you disagree with any of our suggestions, Bracken Crocker on Instagram, who will field all of your concerns.
Rich will be in Europe to discuss this weekend.
Well, I'm gonna be on that board. Point me in a direction. I'll go talk to somebody. We'll get to the bottom of this.
Let's continue with the compliments. Rich, let's be positive here to finish up.
The compliment sandwich.
All of the champions and podium finishers are legitimate. You had 90+% of the world's best there, at least. I don't think that you're going to have an issue with athlete buy-in to participate in a race like this. So that was surprising given how much like animosity there's always been towards FISO from the US side. Doesn't seem to be the same from the rest of the world. Like you had athletes from throughout Asia, South Africa coming up, everywhere in Europe, some pretty big names in the US. It was kind of like Canada and Mexico were missing. That's kind of the only ones that I really saw.
What did we not hear complaints about? The course. The obstacles.
Besides a couple rules, but yeah.
Yeah. If you took out the rules, when you see the pictures and the video of the course, it's pretty awesome. The obstacles are awesome. They may not have made a U.S. course that we would like, but that doesn't matter. They made a course for the world at large of OCR, and it checked most of the boxes. It was a really good looking course. And I think a difficult thing to do is to design that on your first try. I think they did a good job with that. They got good people to come out to a good course. That's difficult to do.
Not Cloverfield, though.
Not Cloverfield.
That would have been better. And like, look, it's hard to get 2 people to finish in second place. That's crazy. That's great. That's amazing. They were able to do that.
Taking the Nick Ryker position, second place.
Final negative. Everything else aside,
Rich, but yeah.
Compliment sandwich. Now it's like a club sandwich with a compliment.
FISO, pay your athletes.
Pay up.
Yeah.
Let them know.
I don't think you can even announce prize money if you don't have it in the bank right now. Put it in escrow, state what it is, or state it will be a percentage of sales. You can't have it any other way. Either people have to know coming in, I don't know what I'm going to get paid. It might not be much, but it's going to be there. Or it's definitely this much and it's going to be there. If you can't cut a check right there, I don't think you belong even promising or hinting that you're going to pay athletes. Stop doing this, people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Every brand, not just
because it's an OCR thing.
Everyone.
Doesn't mean it has to be. This is not something OCR athletes want. So let's ditch that. All right, let's move along. CrossFit half mile. Yeah,
staying positive.
Yeah, this is all fun. This is all fun.
This is delightful for me though.
This
is truly fun.
These dudes can rip an 800, man. I had no idea. I thought, BK running in 752 meters in
153.5, homie.
153.5, son. That's no joke. But these CrossFitters are like, okay, cool. Watch me clean and jerk 350, and then I can run a half faster than
minute 34. Literally, that's what the results showed.
People were like, "Did you see all the competitions and world records following this weekend?" And I'm like, "Yup, I sure did." And they're like, 5K, women's national record in the 800, the women, everything was great. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? That's the least impressive performance I've ever seen." Do you know that like 9 people broke the men's 800-meter world record
by like
in the same
7
race?
seconds?
By like a lot.
Yeah. Like Rhodesia wouldn't have been on the home stretch yet when they crossed the finish line.
They could have picked him up and carried him and still run like 151. There was a competition, a very high level competition in
Northern California
Classic, where there were some really solid names at the top of that event. They had an 800 meters as part of an event. Was it a standalone or was it like before or after something?
It's just an event.
It's a standalone event. So I don't know if there's anything surrounding it. Sometimes they'll do that, right? It'll be like 800 meters and then 20 million squats or something like that. Then they're scored separately. But during this 800 meter, we had let's find these results. We can go see because it was called 800 meter dash.
Which I like that they call it the dash.
They did call it a dash.
Proper
That's
wording.
the dash. If you're running that pace, you're dashing.
You are certainly
back to back
dashing.
Back
so
to
they
back
had
47s.
So someone involved knew the vernacular, so there had to be some kind
proper
of
language,
some kind of track and field experience there. Phil Muscarella took the W on 134. Dean Comos was also 134. Elias Ryland 134. This was run like an 800.
That's what you need to break the record is someone pushing you.
And they're all top of the. This is definitely FAT also with the 0.00s.
34-0, 34-0, 34-0, 35-0, 36-0.
Amazing.
37-0.
Did they hand them popsicle sticks at the end?
The thing is that hybrid athletes are more precise in their finishes than track athletes.
Oh yeah.
So this I think was just good fun. What is the pace for 134 for an 800? Like what kind of
47-second 400s? Back to back.
Yeah. And if you run, if you're not that versed in track and field, if you run 47 seconds in a 400 in high school, you're getting Division I looks.
Yeah,
right.
You can almost write your ticket.
You're winning your conference. You're winning your district. You're like
I would say
state.
Yeah, I would say you might even make like semifinals and nationals, if not finals.
In high school nationals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 46 is very good.
Top 10, 15 in the nation.
That's what I'm saying. Like if they take 8 to the finals, like you're right on the cusp of that.
I don't think anything I said disagreed with that. You win your conference, you win your district, you're top 3 at state.
Yeah.
Depending on your state. New Hampshire,
Question.
you're like an alien. You're like, what?
There are none of those people.
Can you? How did he even do that? So for these guys,
our state record is like 48-1 or something. It's slow.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's too cold.
For comparison, and Eugene for the Diamond League final, 2 people broke 143 for the first time this year. It's the first time we had a male under 143 this year. 2 guys did it in the same race.
Who did it?
They would have been 9 seconds down.
A-Rob and who? I didn't check.
Some Kenyan with the Wanyami.
A-Rob's that dude.
Yeah. A-Rob got second.
He's a house.
Yeah. He's so big. He's
built
so
like
big.
Radisha also. Yeah.
So I mean, this is, this is just coming off of the controversy that we had at the games and just like the measurements of things. And like, again, this doesn't mean anything for the results of the actual event, right? Like they were told to race this course and they ran the course. The women 145, Brittany Weiss 149. Brittany Weiss with the win here. That's a pretty big win. She's a team athlete. She was on Invictus this year. Some good names out here. And yeah, beat Lauren Fisher. Andrew Nissler's really good. Carolyn Prevost. That's a good win for Brittany Weiss. A little CrossFit talk for you.
Yeah.
And for comparison, Mo set the U.S. record in the 800 at 154. This is the most intriguing result of all the goofy measurements because both of the other ones, or the other ones, could be precisely explained away by saying they use yards instead of meters.
This cost 8 seconds. That's what if they accidentally did an 800 yard versus an 800 meters. That's it. Yeah. So now they're running 142 instead of 134, which is faster than the fastest time in the world and maybe a top 10 all-time mark.
Yeah, it's an 80-yard error if they did it in yards, and that doesn't explain it. That's still 30 seconds too fast. So I don't really know at all what happened. If you paced it out yourself, just walked it like doing the old baseball coach, the dad measurement, you'd be more precise than this. So I'm truly fascinated by what could have occurred here. I don't know.
It is because like these women, I mean, 145 for this distance. What's realistic? Like 225? You think like they could run 450 for a half mile? Like I kind of don't even think so.
Or 230 for the women, that's really good. The only explanation I can have, and I haven't seen footage of this, is that they were at a facility that had a 300-meter track. And they thought it was a 400-meter track, and they just did 2 laps.
Oh my God, that'd be
maybe
so
those times.
No, they're not running 134 for 600.
Could they?
I don't know. I'm trying to find out.
Barely breaks 60. And
easy.
He almost would have to hold that same pace for another half lap around a track right now.
300
Sorry,
yard
Phil Muscarell is not doing it.
I don't know. I can't come up with it, and so it may be that they use Google Maps or something. It's fast. Even that would be more precise. I don't know how you got this far off. This is their worst measurement to date, and the fact that they're trending worse is so hilarious to me. Because again, if they went from kilos to pounds and then from pounds to grams, that's the equivalent of what we're working here.
So just to be fair, right? We were very critical. Jack in particular made a name for himself by blowing up CrossFit's measurements at the CrossFit Games. CrossFit as an entity only really does one event and the qualifier events that lead to this. This Northern California Classic and the Madrid Championship, these are not the same people organizing these events. These are independent events that are held by just independent companies or people. So these aren't the same people measuring out these same courses. So this isn't picking on CrossFit as an entity. This is picking on CrossFit as a sport. Come on.
This is why you can't believe anyone who says, I ran a 440 mile at my box.
No.
This is how you guys measure.
Right. Like Ricky Garrard, 1723. It's like, dude, you did great in High Rocks. Honestly, impressed.
Yeah.
But you ain't running 1723, dog.
No.
That ain't happening. No chance.
Again,
Downhill.
this does not speak to the athletes. We're so impressed with your running. We really are. And I would have loved to watch this because a minute and a half race is probably more painful than a 2-minute race.
Oh, yeah. They would have to pace out. They would have to really pace out a half mile quite a bit.
Yeah, like you can sell out for 90 seconds. So this was a brutal run. I respect it.
Do you think? I mean, no, yeah, it said it's on a lakeside. What do you think? 2:20? Like, is that that would be really, really fast? I think.
I'd be impressed, honestly.
2:25.
I ran a 600 indoor in college. It was so miserable.
Yeah,
like that 90-second-ish for them, 90-second window. 80 to 90, that's a brutal distance.
Not something I'm trying to do. So wait, what
so good on them.
What distance are we thinking this is?
I don't know anymore.
550 to 600.
Because 600, this would be what pace for that?
That'll be back to back. That'll be 62 coming around 400 and then holding that pace for another 200 if it was a 600 meters.
No chance.
No.
That's what I'm saying. So it's probably closer to like 550.
550.
At best.
What percent did we miss by here, Jack?
2/3 the distance. Maybe.
We missed by 30+%.
That's like deadlifting 300 and calling it 400. That's how egregious this is. At a minimum, it might even be like 275, but you're claiming a 400.
We're literally absurd. Almost to pounds to kilos mistake at this point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Jack, you're right. So 134 would be 412 pace for 600.
No,
let's see. Doing that. Let's see 525. That would be Vidot's killing me. This seems like
about 500 meters. That's 80 seconds per lap roughly for 400, and then 134. That's a little under another 100 meters. Yeah, it's about 500 meters at that point at 520 pace.
If it's a 525. It would be 448 pace,
or 448 meters.
Yeah. Maybe it's a 5. It was a 525. That's
530.
Let's call it 530. They ran a 530 meter dash, and
it's like Bracken's 752 meter thing. It's close enough.
BK could wrap his head around this.
Yeah,
I'm on board with showing up to races and finding out that they're short.
All right, well, we just thought that was
the gift that never stops giving. I thought we'd never talk CrossFit distances again, but when something like this happens, we have to bring it up. Thank you, Marcus Wallace, for pointing it out.
That's our guy. That's always our guy. Sean Sweeney won, and he is good. He's a guy. He came out to a Spartan event one time, right? He wears the cowboy hat.
The Tim Tahoe Paulson, thing with Chandler and Jacob Hefner and a few of them.
Yes. And then Tim Paulson, he was on CrossFit Proven that finished second at the games this year. He was an individual athlete the past 2 years before that, so he's very good.
Insane on the bike.
He just sells out. He definitely sells on the bike, but he looks like he sells on the bike for sure. Luis Ascamora, he's kind of a fringe guy, trying to get into the games, finish fourth. So I mean, this is really good. These are really good. So I'll just give a little bit more shots. Brittany Weiss, like I said, that's a really good finish for her winning. Lauren Fisher was second, and again, she's been an individual athlete in the past and has been on the games team. Andrew Nisler has been the best female individual on CrossFit Mayhem, and she was also on Proven the past several years. And Caroline Prevost, she was a games athlete this year. She's hailing from Canada.
TMX, she did that.
Caroline Prevost did?
Yeah.
She's just a workhorse.
Might have been third.
No, we went over this recently, Jack.
No, we had our trivia. Then she was fifth because Lauren was fourth. She was definitely sitting in podium position in the qualifiers. I remember that.
Speaking of trivia,
there was another
Race
very
Brain
important
teaser time.
Yeah, there was a very important event that took place this past weekend. Did you see what happened in DC?
Did my boy Brant Boggs took second place on day one?
Oh, let's go.
He would have waxed Megiddo had Megiddo had the cojones to show up on Saturday.
Megiddo
came up. Megiddo showed for a Sunday.
He continued his cherry picking streak.
I love that.
So with that, if you exclude the COVID shortened 2020 season, I know I've got them broken down into who hasn't done it. There were 9 U.S.
As soon
races.
as I decided I wasn't counting it, I didn't let anyone else count it.
I believe that's fair because you are a participant in this.
Yeah. So anyway, David Megiddo, if you exclude 2020, has at least one Spartan Elite podium dating back to 2012 every single year. Now, if you look at it, it was one in 2012, 15, 16, 17, 21, 22, 20. So he's out there just sniping podiums on Sundays towards the end of the year in the DC area. But regardless, he's kept this streak alive for going on 12 or I guess 11 if you take out 2020. So very impressive. But my question,
there was hard years in there, right?
Yeah.
Those middle years. How did he do in like 17, 18, 19?
18 he had 6, and then he had 3 in 19 and 1 in 17. So he had 10 over that 3-year stretch. He got in 17. He got it in Iceland in the sprint when everyone else was doing the 24-hour one, and there were like 6 people in there. Kevin Donahue lead podium there. It was like not a lot of people in that field.
Okay, I want to pile on Dave, and I'm going to shortly.
Nice.
However, he didn't fly over there to do that. He was there as part of the production. It's the only bone I'm going to toss him. Let's get back to piling on him.
Yeah. So David Magida, technically, if you exclude 2020, has a podium every single year since 2012. Who actively, we can do men and women, have podiumed in at least 10 straight seasons, so dating back to 2014. And I'll let you know if this athlete has or hasn't in 2020, because some athletes, like there were different parts of the world, like there were no races in Canada in 2020. They couldn't even cross the border. So like if you were a Canadian athlete, that just sucks. So
what's our time frame again? I should have been listening to your question. I wasn't.
Past 10 years, which athletes have at least one Spartan Elite podium every single season, dating back to 2014?
And you're not discarding COVID?
I have them separated, so I'll just clarify if you name a name, if they got
year to date,
including 2023, 2014, Isaiah. Every single year until now.
BK said Isaiah.
Isaiah, he missed 2020, but he has dated back to 2012, so he's tied with Magida for the longest sort of interrupted streak.
VJ
is not one of them. 2015 first
how many
time.
Athletes we got?
There are 7 guys and 4 women.
So we got to think OG. BK. We only get 5 wrongs. No, 6 wrongs. So we already have 2.
So you got Magida and Isaiah.
Are we talking worldwide?
Just throw out names. Yeah, worldwide.
Oh, worldwide.
Yeah. Most of them are from North America. Actually, every single one of them is from North America, male and female.
Did we say Angel?
I was thinking
Angel is one of them, dating back to 2013. If you include the COVID shortened year in 2020, he has the longest streak dating back to 2013, uninterrupted.
Yeah, go Atkins here.
Atkins also 2014. Lindsay, dating back to 2015. She actually did not get a podium in 2014. Her first ever race was the Killington World Championships, where she got 4th. So there are actually no women who have a streak of 10 years. She has a 9-year streak. That's the longest active one for the women.
So that didn't count, or that did count?
It did not count.
You said there was 4 women, though?
Okay, 4 women on the list. I'm doing the longest active streak for the women. They don't. 9 is the women's. At least 10 for the men. That's what I'm getting at.
Got it. Glenn
Race. You got all 3 who have been uninterrupted. Glenn got his first podium in 2014. So there are a couple who got interrupted because of COVID, if you want to guess them. Or I can just give them to you.
We need 4 more dudes.
2 more.
Mick?
Nope.
Jesse Bruce.
Jesse Bruce is one of them. Missed 2020.
Wow. Nice.
One more guy. I will be shocked if you get this, and I was stunned when I saw his name. I was like, this guy's been around for a while.
Someone who's been around for a while, and this is including Europe. Is he European?
All of these people are North American.
Oh.
U.S., actually, for this guy.
Huh. You got it, BK. This has got to be in your wheelhouse, man. These are people you competed against.
Ryan Kempson.
No. Want the answer?
Yeah, give us the answer.
Grady Jackson.
Whoa.
I did not think he's been around that long. 2014, he got his first podium.
Nice.
Yep. And then there's one other woman who's tied with Lindsay for dating back to 2015. Do you know who that is?
Dating back to 2015, and he'd still be active.
Rose.
Faye Morgan.
Faye Morgan is not. Nope. Rose is missing 2020, and she has not got one in 2023. So she's close, but won't technically have it.
One more guess. Bracken, this is you.
Yep.
Let's go with one of my two that I always pick for my fantasy team. I'll let you choose, Rich.
Well, you already picked Faye.
Azuzi. No.
Casey Monroe?
Casey Monroe.
Nope. Kelly
Don't
Sullivan.
know that.
Sally.
She's got to be on a bunch of lists. She's probably just been doing work.
Ton of them. And then Alex Walker and Rachel Waters were missing 2020, so they're close. And if Austin Azar's listening, he has a chance of extending the list back to 2014. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't have one this year.
Jax, facts. We need to get some sort of sound happening to drop in here.
Yeah. What's the longest between first and last?
Probably Chris Brown, because he got one in 2010 during the initial year.
KB, he got a 10.
He got one this year already.
That's impressive. He got a 13-year span.
He had like a massive hiatus also. John Albin, he got one in 2011. You got one in 2011. And I think Faye Morgan as well. She had a missing year. I think she missed 2016 or something. There was 1 year dating back where she didn't get one, but there were only a few active people from 2011 or 10 who are still racing.
Yeah, I don't even fall in that category anymore.
Yeah.
All right, nice job, Jack. Good facts. Yep. Race Brain Teaser. Holler at us. Let's move along to DEKAFIT. We had a DEKAFIT, last DEKAFIT of the year to qualify for the World Championships in Orlando, Florida. I think it was at that big convention center that we were at, BK. In
Orange County.
That thing is no joke. Usually these DEKAFITs are like if you went to the Pennsylvania one, it was like a convention center that was built like a bazillion years ago, like kind of outside of the city, kind of dumpy. But this is like a legitimate convention center here.
We just warmed up and cooled down inside.
We did.
And barely saw the same place twice.
We went down and back and got like 15 minutes of running in. So let's start on the women's end. We saw a pretty stacked field out here, and the finishing was not the way we had anticipated. We had Vivian Feudo finishing in first, Camila Massa second with a really impressive performance in her first DEKAFIT of the season. And then Tara Jackson was third, Meg Jacoby notably in fourth, and then Lauren Griffith, who has been in the 3K scene, finishing fifth, Alex Walker sixth, Sam Faddis seventh. I'm just going to go all the way through because these are all good names. Shannon Payne was eighth, Jessica Viglia was ninth, Claudia Pavia was 10th. So some really strong athletes here, and not what we would expect at the top.
Meg's done.
Bracken successfully picked Meg in fourth place, actually.
Meg's going to come at your throat, dude. When she sees you, she's going to punch you in your throat, and it will hurt.
I don't want any part of her. I'd fight Chris before I'd fight her.
No doubt. No doubt.
Because I think if I had to, I could run away from Chris. If I got away early. Chris will catch me.
She'll just keep chasing you, though. She'll never stop.
I wouldn't gain a step on Meg.
It'd be like, yeah, that's true. You ever seen the movie It Follows?
That's
be
Chris.
Like Chris would be like that.
Chris is It Follows.
Yeah, you gotta keep moving.
Not a compliment.
We don't need to get into the details of the movie, but just like the premise. Yeah. So the way the race kind of played out, Meg was aggressive up front and took a fall, like a pretty mean fall off of the box in the third station, and then was run down by Camilla. And I believe Lauren Griffith was kind of aggressive up front as well. She was up front. And from there, it was just Meg was just kind of hanging on and just kind of fighting to maintain position. And by the back half, it like just the fall accumulating with all like the stress of getting past and just like Deka's not like High Rocks where you can kind of grind it out. If there's a little bit off here or there, whether it is something that physically happens to you, you go out too hard, you take a fall like this, it's going to be much harder to rally, especially it's only her second one, and the first one she did basically went perfect and broke the world record. So having something like this happen, I think, was a bit jolting. and painful.
You can only bleed out or finish strong. There's not much in between in a DEKA. But just like Hunter in LA. What's that?
Bled out and finish strong?
Yeah, you passed a couple people on the Ram burpees after dying in Philadelphia.
That's true. That's true. I sandbagged for a while. Brought it back.
LA for Hunter. This is Meg's.
Yeah.
Great.
Nothing to worry about.
Learning experience, sobering experience to dial in and get clarity and motivation for Worlds. I think long term, it's a good thing. As long as her hip's good.
As long as her hip's good, I agree. I mean, and in terms of timing, you never want to run a poor race, but like at this time of the year, it's like 10 weeks from DEKA, it's 8 weeks from High Rock Chicago. Like if something's going to go wrong racing, it might as well be now and then any other time. In
a high-end, really red zone hybrid event, I think the worst thing you can come in is confident. And the best, overconfident. And the best thing you can come in is a little terrified, but really fit. I think we've seen time and time again, we'll talk about it on the men's side. As soon as you start feeling like, I think this is going to go really, really well, something happens.
I mean, this is something that I think would have played in Ryland's favor last season if he had a race in between his debut and Worlds. But he had his debut and he's like, that was my first time. I can do much better. And Meg kind of had that same idea. But the line is very thin. It's a very thin line in Ryland's case, right? And it's like you step over it, it doesn't come back the way that it could in OCR, in High Rocks. So having this, and like if Ryland did have a race not go as well, it may have brought him down to earth a little bit more for what the event actually is. Because this is Meg's second event, right? She's still learning it. In terms of concern, like I'm not concerned almost at all. I mean, like 3 weeks ago, she set the world record.
Yeah. Just make sure her elbow's okay. That's kind of the only thing.
Yeah, landed on her tush.
Oh, it was okay. It looked like she landed on her side, like a little roll.
That was a spill. That was certainly a spill.
That was like people's elbow right there. Yeah.
So Vivian Sfuto taking the W. She ran a good, smart race, really fast time. 32:48 is only a couple seconds off of Meg's time, right?
32:27, and Tara went 32:44 last year. So had Meg not set that record 4 seconds away, that's
all time.
Yeah, her bike's fantastic.
And Camilla, in her first ever DEKA, ran real aggressive, ran pretty smart, wasn't fearful in any way, put it out there and was like, hey, I'm here. I know I'm fit. I'm putting in work. 32:50 in this isn't her debut. She ran West Palm last year. I'd have to look up what her time was, but she must have taken off
probably a couple minutes.
2+ minutes. Yeah. And she was leading this race going into the bike, ran past the bike in and had to kind of backtrack to get there. And then Vivian met her at the bike, and then Vivian put like 15 seconds on her in that one bike. So for Camilla only to finish 2 seconds back, it's not out of the question that Camilla could have won this race if she just went in when she was supposed to go in.
It's Race Brain.
Yeah. And then first time doing it this season. That's an appeal. That's someone else's fault, Let's raise that. And then Tara coming through in 33:21 to finish third.
Is this cause for concern for her, for you?
30 seconds off her fastest time ever that she won Worlds at, and she just set the DEKA mile record. I think, add a little bit of speed endurance right there. She could stretch it out a little more. I wouldn't be super worried.
I don't know.
She took down Meg. I think that's going to be a confidence booster despite getting run away from. And I know that Meg's loss had some extenuating circumstances realistically with the fall and stuff, but I wouldn't be in a bad place if I was Tara right now.
Yeah, and she must be very plugged into where her fitness is. I would like to see her compete a little bit more. She really wasn't a factor in this race, really at all. She kind of McGee'd it. But if you look back at her race in West Palm last year, she was 33:44 there. So she's 23 seconds ahead of where she was in the past year. So if she can be dialed back into where she needs to be, the way that she was for Atlantic City, there's no cause for concern here.
10 weeks is an eternity to a high-level athlete who's already fit. An eternity.
Who knows how to win world championships also.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. And fit might not even be her emphasis.
Yeah.
Just coming off that's another thing too. Just coming off of that mile world record, I've thought that she would be up in the front a little bit more. But yeah, I think she's just biding her time. And she's raced a couple times this year, but she's ahead of where she was. So no, like I said, I would have liked to have seen her be with that group when Camilla and Vivian went past Meg, but I don't think she went past Meg until like after the sled.
Yeah.
Anytime you get to pass Meg or beat Meg, it's a huge moment.
You got to be fired up. Right. Got to take that win when you can. And then on the anything else on the women's side? I mean, in terms of how this shakes up the. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I was going to say Alex Walker and Lauren Griffith moving into 6th and 7th place. Very big performances right there. Lauren, first ever race, she's 7 seconds slower than Lauren Weeks has run. So Lauren and Lauren back to back, 33:49, 33:56. That's a good place to be. She's got to be confident right now. And then Alex Walker, massive PR, like almost a minute or so. Good on her. 34.
So this hasn't been updated.
I sent a message in the group chat, and that'll show like where people moved.
Oh, you did it on your own?
Yeah, I did it on my own because I wanted to see where I was at, and it's not where I want. There are a couple typos in there in terms of like new times and stuff. I forgot to update those, but I can read off the new top 10 if you want, or you can pull it up.
Yeah, this is why don't you go ahead and read off the women? I mean, I guess just read off the women.
Yep. So in order, 1st through 10th: Meg Jacoby, Vivian Tafuto, Camilla Massa, Tara Jackson, Lauren Weeks, Lauren Griffith, Alex Walker, Michaela Norman, Chris Rogloski, and Alondra Greenlee. My guess is that Michaela is going to stay in Sweden for World Champs, and Calypso Sheridan will end up being bumped into that final spot for Heat 1. And then for the second heat, Laurie Winkleman is sitting in 21st, and Jezebel Kramer also might drop off. So Laurie and Maddie Mansberger, very likely that the two of them will backfill. That's my guess.
So
Viola as well. So you could have Julia Ashley
making a huge jump into this top 20. Shouts to her. This drops Nicole way down. Are we going to see her at DEKA Worlds?
It's a week from Spartan Worlds. There's no way she should do that.
Coming in as a 13th seed.
Yeah.
And Viola, like you said, I would imagine she won't come over. Jezebel, I don't think will come over. So
I've just been more excited about Nicole doing this than you guys have been the whole time. I still think it adds so much.
Rankings once.
I just have so much excitement to see her do it more. I don't think she cares, but she just adds something to the field because there just aren't that many people with like boom or bust potential who could race that way as well. There's some people that could maybe pull out a day, but if Nicole wanted to, she could just go out and set a hot pace. Or do something crazier for a while. And she's not going to go there. I wouldn't either if I were her, but it would be cool to see her dabble.
The thing that I'm really excited about is last year, so 35:55 is currently the 20th place by time cutoff. Last year, 35:52 was 12th, Miranda Klipinski. So you had basically 8 new athletes show up and run as fast, if not faster than before. Last year, we had 5 women under 34 minutes. And this year, you're up to 6, but a lot of 34 lows. So I think the sport has improved a lot.
Women's field got a lot better. So, I mean, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in this top 10, right? Like there's some athletes here who have serious choices to make when it comes to High Rock Sweden, not just the international athletes. Like if you're Meg Jacoby, if you're Lauren Weeks, if you're Vivian Tafuto, like it would make sense depending on the payout, right? What it's going to look like for High Rocks, how much they can be a little bit more reliable in terms of timeliness of payout and what's on the line and for a world championship qualifier for someone like Vivian, or who knows what happens in Chicago, right? Like you would think that Meg, Lauren, and Michaela punched their ticket that first time, but maybe not. Maybe something happens and Lauren Weeks or Meg look at it like, I need to get this ticket punched. I'm going to go to Sweden. So
right now the DEKAFIT top 20, they will send out invites to those top 20, I think, next week. This upcoming Sunday or Saturday, this weekend, basically, you need to have your strong or mile mark or teams mark by the end of this weekend, or you will not have a chance to qualify at a later event, even if there's one held in October or November. So if you're listening and you're right on the threshold, or whether on the right side or the wrong side, you might want to do one last attempt if there's one in your area, just to kind of punch your ticket in case someone bumps you out. But I think that there's a 2-week window starting, I guess, next week, where they'll be sending out invites to those top 20 to declare that they're going to do it. And then after that, 2 weeks later, it'll be 21st on. They'll send in groups of 10 or so. I think it's going to be first come, first serve for that. I don't know the exact reasoning or the exact method for that, but I think if I was one of those athletes who's considering going to Sweden, I think for the athletes who are just outside that, like Laurie Winkleman or Maddie or Julia Ashley, who's sitting in 21st, 22nd, 23rd, I think, you should know within 2 weeks, just for fairness for them, if you're going to end up going to Sweden or not. Just let them know.
So let's move along to the dudes. We'll get this.
No response.
No response.
Yes. We're just running out of time.
Move along. Can we give Alex Walker some love?
Shout.
She's starting to make my list of most well-rounded athletes in the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she'll throw her hat in like a high rocks doubles here or there.
She could win the Savage Series or get second later this year.
Yeah. And she's just been consistent, and just like she keeps getting better and better too.
Yeah.
She's a workhorse. She puts in that work. Can we move to the dudes now?
Let's do it.
Been waiting on you.
To the dudes. Nick Ryker taking it down. 30-15. Isaac Sanderson in second, 30-25. VJ finishing in third with 30-31. Then we had Glenn Race, Kyle Reed, Aaron Nolan, Chaz Hatton, Keith Hardwick, Isaiah Vidal, 32-36. Johnny Morrison, 33-42, rounding out your top 10 there. Shouts to Gary Mitchell, too, finishing in 11th. Big PR.
OCR Nostradamus here?
Nick Riker's like, I don't like 30-20s anymore. I'm going 30-15.
Who called it?
Who did?
I said he was cracking 30-20, and you guys like, never.
But is this the biggest win in Nick Riker's career?
He usually gets second, so it probably
He doesn't win anything.
He's a chump.
First and only.
But that is true. Biggest win, right? Taking down someone like VJ in this event, who VJ was, I think, the 4th seed coming into this event.
Still is. Yep.
Still is with that time. So, and Isaac Sanderson shows a big improvement here as well. How much faster was his time here? 45 seconds?
40 seconds faster.
He got aggressive.
So, yeah.
He raced more aggressive.
Strategy. Yeah.
Yep.
He wasn't more aggressive. He was super aggressive on the stations last time. His row was insane.
Aggressively this time. Yeah. He pulled a Ryland last time, and that's hard to do. He clearly had his breakthrough there. But big improvement. Now,
Pointer Ryland is leading the stations and leading the running.
Just go as hard as you can on all of them.
Yeah. Why balance it when you can just do it all?
When you just hammer it and be awesome.
Win 20 out of 20. Yeah.
So big moves on his end. VJ, like, it was a really fun race to watch. You guys caught it?
Yes.
Three dudes
shoe problems.
All heading into the bike, right? They were all kind of together right at that point. Like, I think VJ kind of ran them down after on pretty much all of them. And then coming into the bike, Ryker's strong on that. He was under a minute with transitions. Really good.
He's consistently in that 55 to 60 range every time he's on the bike.
Then he runs 7-minute pace that next run. So, hey, give and take. But that was a great way to kind of vary competition.
58 seconds faster. So
that's the difference between time trialing and racing right there.
I know. Yeah.
He raced, and I loved it. But he's going to need a second option for championships.
He can blow himself up on that bike, and that next run is pretty terrible. But then his dead ball overs don't suffer. In the past, when I blow myself up on that bike, it's the run and the dead ball overs that suffer. So he's able to pull it back after that run and still get through the stations in as fast of a time that he needs. And his back end is
2 minutes
strong.
Basically. Yeah.
He needs to do better on these burpees. There's like
he was reeled in at the end. Yeah.
He was 114 on that. He needs to be closer to 65.
If you tuned in just for the burpees once they were all there, you would have thought he was in third place and getting past.
Because VJ hammers and Isaac hammers too. Isaac was 62 on the burpees, and VJ was 63.
VJ was right around a minute flat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yes,
yeah, and then at World you're gonna have guys like Rylan, you, Kent, like good burpeers there. Colin, you don't want to be slow on burpees at the end.
No. Yeah, you're gonna have to be under 65 seconds at World Championships to hold your position. You know, to not get passed by several people. So shout outs to Ryker, big win on his end. He was fired up. Yeah, VJ ran a pretty solid race. I think he had some footwear issues. The Takumi Send with the VJ bottoms didn't do it.
He's got to send those to the trash.
It's not as much about the compound as it is the tread.
Seems like it.
Basketball, you got to look to court shoes. Basketball and tennis. What do they have in common? They have constant little grooves and variations on the bottom. You don't put exposed rubber, really.
Uh-huh.
And so even though he had his good rubber, it's just you want the opposite of surface area. You want as much surface area touching as possible with as much air as possible as well. Like they have to be tight together and always mixed up. That's what basketball shoe bottoms are.
And then so he went out and got a pair of
Adios Pro 3s?
Pink ones, whatever.
No.
Endorphin Pro 3s.
Endorphin Pro 3s. And then went and did another DEKAFIT and did it like 31 minutes later that day.
Angrily.
So, I mean, like, I don't think he wins this race if he has better footwear. He's probably he's definitely closer. He's gaining 15 seconds on that sled alone. He may get second and maybe some time on the turns here or there. But so maybe he's close. Maybe he's low 30 20s. But Ryker just ran a really good, solid, strong race there.
I hate the idea of the shoe being the narrative, right? But if we take that at face value, the shoe has ramifications beyond time. The only way to move a sled with a slippery shoe is to really clench your hamstrings and you have to get everything tight in order to get that thing moving because you can't rely on just pressing into the ground. And that has ramifications on the next run and the dead balls. And it snowballs. Or dead balls were before that, right? Yeah. But on the next run and the burpees, if you're clenching on turns and then accelerating afterward because you have to decelerate too much, I don't want to accept any post-race excuse, but if we do, it has more than just the time he lost.
This is a confidence thing. Going around turns, slipping out a little bit too. It's just like a little bit. It's not. You don't want to think about your footwear.
No, it's too bad because that is the perfect shoe for Deka.
I know. It should be the one, but it ain't it.
I think him coming back and doing that double in a pair of shoes that didn't cause him issues solo, like that's gonna help him forget about this weekend for championships.
Oh yeah.
So now that we look at the final list of the World Championship tentative qualifiers,
Rich Ryan in the top 10 still.
Woo! Held on. I knew
1
it.
second.
Never a doubt.
Never a doubt.
In that fast heat. Me.
Yeah.
Now, Kent was hoping I wouldn't be in that fast heat, but now I'm in that fast heat. Now he's sweating.
You said Rich needs to do the bare minimum to get into that fast heat. And he did the bare minimum to get into that fast heat.
1 second different.
Speak it into existence. That's pure execution is what that is.
Yep.
That's flawless decision making.
The homie Marcus Wallace was looking out for me. He's like, I'm just going to wait here.
I'll go a little slower.
And then cross the line. That's my guy. I love that dude. So Dylan Scott's 3rd seed, VJ Jones 4, Ryker 5th, Colin Steefer 6th, David Magida 7th, Anas Zuri in 8th, Isaac Sanderson in 9th. Man, this is fast, dude. This is like 30. What was the cutoff last year?
Isaac's actually getting me in 6th. I forgot to change the order right there.
Oh, yeah, it didn't seem right. Whatever.
Because he went 30-25. Regardless, it's the same group of 10 that will be in the first heat.
He's the truth.
Jack, you're down now into 27th.
Not like my odds.
Ruben won't come. Nolan will go age group. Aaron Nolan will go age group. John Clark.
Let me tell you one. So if Aaron decides, Aaron had a fantastic race, by the way. So shout out to him. He was ranked 81st, and then he comes in, just destroys it, and then runs a 31:54. He's in the 45 to 49 age group with John Clark. So I might be a little nervous if I'm John Clark at that point. Like, thought he had it sealed.
They're buddies too, I think.
Oh yeah, they're great guys. But if Aaron decides to run elite, Yancey said he and Cole Walkington, who both have a 31:54, will be offered the chance to race because of the tide time. Even though it would result in 21 people if that's the case.
Podiums.
Yeah,
give them podiums. They did that last year with the women's elite. So I mean, where do you look up the line? Who might not show? I mean, Josh Gonzalez definitely coming.
Top 10 all showing up. Top 15 all showing up. Glenn, he wouldn't have raced this if he didn't plan on attending Worlds. Josh Gonzalez definitely is. Kyle Reed definitely is. So it's basically like Alphonse. That's it. Maybe if Aaron decides to do age group, but Aaron's doing ruck also. And the two of us are planning on doing teams. So even if I don't race, I'm going to rabbit you guys, help out with the commentary and stuff, and then come back and race with Aaron. But
have you done a teams qualifier?
Yeah, we did it. We were both dead in Sacramento. I got third in the elite race in the morning, and Aaron did, I forget what he ran that day, but he did an individual and then the ruck, and then he came back and we did teams, and we just died. Like John Clark and Chaz Hatton just gave us the business for the first half of the race, and we're like, we're so sore. And I think we're sitting in like 15th place or so we won't even be in the fast heat for that.
It's not out of the possibilities, Jack. Like if you take out the people that are ahead of you and Alphonse, like there was going to be like
who's going to
not go. Alphonse, and I don't know. People get hurt.
Yeah, Gaudet probably wouldn't realistically.
I don't think he would go.
Point. John Clark, if he does age group, who knows? Like Chaz Hatton will definitely do it. John Howard definitely will. So
well, does like someone like Chaz or Kyle? Do they have they run an age group race this year, or have they gone?
Kyle
was
in the same race. I think he was in Sacramento. No, that might have been Tate Cowley. But Kyle's done a couple of races so far in the elite where he's run 32:40 and sub 33. So
you never know about what High Rocks is going to do either. Someone might just decide to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think your odds are good, but it's not zero.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to Sweden this year, dude.
What about Marcus Wallace in our area? Within 15 minutes, there's a strong this weekend, and within an hour and a half, 2 hours, there is a mile. What's he doing?
Strong.
He's going to do the strong.
He doesn't have a strong time yet. You gonna go?
And he's 18 low.
He has a mile.
Yeah.
What was he ranked?
It's like 1808 or something. He's right around Nick Ryker's time, so he's got to be top 10.
So he's not above the Ryker line. The Ryker line might be replaced in DEKA.
We need to shift it.
He still is the Ryker line for High Rocks.
Oh, yeah.
But someone else is going to become the new line for DEKA because Ryker
is the new one. We've got the list.
Probably Alphonse.
Is it Rich Ryan right now with his times?
Could be. Alphonse is the Spanish man. I might get to see him. I might get to shake that hand.
Glenn.
Glenn's a good one.
Yeah. Maybe you could be Alphonse Ryan when you go over to Madrid. Do that.
I think when I make my glorious return in 2024, my goal is to make it the bracket line.
Yeah.
I think that'll be my new role in sport. Gatekeeper.
I think that is doable. Yeah, Marcus right now is the 4th seed in mile.
Yeah.
He's all right. I mean, I'll see McGee.
What would you do if you were him?
For what?
Drop fit and go mile strong?
I mean, he has a chance to. I think he has a chance to win mile or strong. I mean, what's his name's times aren't up here either. The way that mile might be
his event.
Well, mile is just with the way Kent and Ryland are going to be in form for mile. Mile's going to be very competitive this year.
Yeah,
but I think he can be on the podium in mile and strong. I would like to see him in a fit though. I'd like to. I don't know. Do them all.
So we did a comparison last year, for last year's time for the women. So 21st place, Aaron Nolan's tied at 31:54. Last year, Forrest Bogue, 21st place, 32:47. So we are 53 seconds faster.
Great. Love to hear it.
Yeah, I think the sport is developing. You saw people like Isaac Sanderson, Joseph Cotto, Jarrett Newby throwing his hat in there, like a lot of new people, and then some of the people backfilling, like Josh Gonzalez ran some good times. Kyle Reed showing up, and Cole Walkington. He was an age group champion last year at DEKA Worlds, leveling up to the elite division this year. Nice. So I think
love that.
You've seen some good improvement across the board.
All right, let's wrap this up. DEKAFIT.
One last thing to talk about. DEKA Dog.
DEKA Dog 5,000. Very impressive.
Dylan Scott with the most impressive athletic performance the entire weekend.
I'm gonna break that time. That's no problem for me.
You're actually gonna try it? I think
if I get last, I'm in last right now.
That's true. This year we should do it with pizza. I hate hot dogs. I'll do it with pizza or burgers.
No.
The point isn't to enjoy it.
I know.
Just so we're clear.
I'm well aware. You think pizza or burgers are going to make it any easier?
The alliteration
I don't like
well.
hot dogs.
Good.
He's out of here.
Bye.
He's so pissed off about hot dogs.
He hates that idea and left. But that was very impressive. BK, what do you got on running public?
We actually had to record just prior to this. I'm on hour 3 of podcasting this morning. Jess got a deer last night, or the night before, so Kirk and Jess were out all night butchering helpless animals.
Just blood everywhere. Just loving it.
Pets,
bathing in it.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah. Heathen.
Yeah, that's worth missing.
So we talked about how to end your season, how to wrap up a season, and how to start your off season out.
Did you have a guest on Friday?
No, he and I did we did 4 important questions. I interviewed Kirk.
Oh yeah? Were they good
questions? 4 of the most commonly asked questions that we have either given lip service to or just answered with our own athletes, but never like dedicated time to it. So we talked about what exactly, like a long form version of 4 really commonly asked questions that we keep getting as coaches.
I like it. Smart. We had full episode Ryan Kent and Meg Jacoby on. We got the RMR training app dropping on Friday. We're calling it RMR. That's us. So a lot of rebrand situation happened. The podcast is going to be called RMR Podcast here soon. So yeah, we just talked about Meg's race. Talked about going to Spain. That's what we're doing. So next week we'll be talking about Spain.
It's just RMR.
RMR. Yeah, thought about armor, but
yeah. So what does the layman think when they see your app? What's RMR?
What way? Like it's just our what
brand recognition. What does it say to them?
I mean, it's Ryan Can't Make Jacoby Rich Ryan. That was just wanted to make it very clear who the people were behind it. We didn't really want to put hybrid in it anywhere because if it was like armor, it'd have to be like armor hybrid training, and it doesn't distinguish anything or anybody putting the word hybrid in your training programs at this point. It's almost more confusing. So we wanted to kind of steer away from that and just make it clear. It's like, this is us. So that's RMR. And it looks good. I mean, it does actually look pretty good, like written out.
Who'd you get to do your app?
It's a platform called Playbook. No. And we're not going to have to do any of the back end app stuff because that would just be a nightmare. I don't know how to do that at all. Mm-hmm. So
that's right. You're using Playbook.
Using Playbook. Yep. So it drops on Friday. Episode out this that we just came out with. Talked about a whole lot of Meg Jacoby, a lot of prep for Spain. Next week we'll be here and we'll be talking about Spain. Talking about a lot of tapas.
When you leave? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Yep.
What's going to happen?
Packed. What's going to happen?
What are you going to do in Spain? Yeah.
I'm going to run a high rocks race. I'm not going to be friendly to anybody. No one. I'm going to get there.
You have your tire picked out, the anti-Europe shirt. Yeah.
I'm going to have the hood up, headphones in, keeping it down, ready to fight.
Spaghetti.
That's right. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, if the wall ball target's at 8 feet, that'll be nice. If the sandbags are 50 pounds, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Where are you right now in your fitness compared to your best high rocks ever?
So I think if I had 4 more weeks, I could be as prepared as I possibly could be right now. So I'm kind of like on my way up. I don't think I'm in worse shape than where I was last year for Dallas, which was my PR. Okay. I think I've done a little bit more specific work, getting ready for, like last year I was very focused on like speed. And this year I'm kind of moving back into what I did in 2022 and working more on the grind and like the long pieces and just being familiar with the race. And that's where I felt the most prepared. Chicago North American Championships was where I felt the most control. And I feel like I have control of where I am in these races now, as opposed to just being like, all right, let's hang on and see what happens in these last 2 stations. Now I'm like confident in those last two stations. I'm confident in like the totality of the event. So I feel good. I feel as prepared as I possibly could be for right now.
Okay.
So it should be like a 54 Something mid.
Like that. Yeah. Maybe they'll measure it with the the CrossFit wheel.
Give me some
Make
yards.
A nice course for you.
I love some yards.
Some yards.
They're definitely doing yards over in Spain.
8,000 yards. That'd be great.
Well, we're pumped for you.
Thanks, guys.
Crush
Thanks,
it.
guys.
Live stream?
Probably. I don't think they do in Spain, but maybe I'll try to hand a phone to somebody. Maybe we'll talk about that on offline, and we can maybe see if we can get something on Race Brain or something.
Sweet.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right,
Crush
squad. We'll talk to you soon.